The Apple Watch Series 10 is here. It has the biggest display ever. It's also the thinnest Apple Watch ever, making it even more comfortable on your wrist, whether you're running, swimming, or sleeping. And it's the fastest charging Apple Watch, getting you 8 hours of charge in just 15 minutes. The Apple Watch Series 10, available for the first time in glossy jet black aluminum. Compared to previous generations, iPhone XS or later required. Charge time and actual results will vary.
Sail to breathtaking destinations in Alaska or Europe with the Disney Cruise Line. Discover where onboard magic meets onshore adventures, where beloved characters
Hiya, pal!
meet alluring landscapes, where Broadway quality shows meet historic cities, where imaginative dining meets amazing wildlife, and where exciting experiences await the whole family. Book an adventure-filled summer Disney cruise to Alaska or Europe.
Amazon Pharmacy presents Painful Thoughts.
The guy in front of me in the pharmacy line is halfway through an incredibly detailed 17-minute story about his gout, a story likely more painful than the gout itself.
Next time, save yourself the pain and let Amazon Pharmacy deliver your meds right to your door. Amazon Pharmacy. Healthcare just got less painful.
Where'd you get those shoes? Easy. They're from DSW. Because DSW has the exact right shoes for whatever you're into right now. You know, like the sneakers that make office hours feel like happy hour. The boots that turn grocery aisles into runways. And all the styles that show off the many sides of you, from daydreamer to multitasker and everything in between. Because you do it all in really great shoes. Find a shoe for every you at your DSW store or dsw.com.
Hi everyone, I'm Rachel Zoe, and you're listening to Climbing in Heels for your weekly dose of glamour, inspiration, and of course, fun. Before we get into our amazing interview today, I want to take a minute to acknowledge the incomprehensible devastation and deeply, deeply rooted fear that's covering my hometown of Los Angeles. I am one of the very, very lucky ones and incredibly grateful that at this time my home is safe. My children and myself have remained totally safe, but there are so many people and families that have lost everything. Many, many that I know, closest friends of mine, closest friends of the kids, really countless, countless others that lost everything they own in their entire lives that simply cannot afford to in any way rebuild, recover, and don't have safe places to go. So I really just want to encourage anyone listening, if you're able to, please donate to Baby to Baby. I've been on the board from the beginning. It is the most extraordinary organization. I know where every dollar goes. I promise you it's all going to help these babies and children and families that are suffering so deeply. They're working actively across LA to provide families with basic essentials, diapers, formula, clothing, wipes, hygiene items, or please donate to the Los Angeles Fire Department, LAFD, who, as you've seen on TV, on your socials, who are working tirelessly to put these fires out and keeping everyone safe. Our hearts are with all our first responders who we can never, ever thank enough. We love you so much, LA. And please keep everyone here in your hearts. So today I am joined by the powerhouse female best friends behind Sakara Life, a whole food nutrition and supplement brand for your body, skin, and mind. Danielle Duboise and Whitney Tingle were childhood friends that began their incredibly successful business out of their very tiny New York City kitchen in their very tiny apartment. I don't even think it was a full kitchen. It was a kitchenette. I know from personal experience how amazing and delicious Sakara Life food is, and have used their meal service several times for my entire family. It does not feel like starvation. It does not feel like a diet. It feels like just delicious, healthy food. You are never hungry, and it's such a treat if you can try it even once to set yourself on a great, healthy routine. Danielle and Whitney have continued to grow their brand to monstrous proportions. I cannot believe how big they are, and have a cookbook and a podcast. And I know it's only the beginning for these amazing young women. So let's jump right in. I'm very happy to see you guys. I feel like I've known you for a long time. Like, I feel like I've known you since you started.
I think you have.
You know, and now I've been the lucky recipient of Sakara so many times in my life. Like, if I come off like a huge stretch of work and I'm feeling really burnt out, or like I was sick and I just feel like I need to nourish myself, I just love Sakara because you're never hungry and everything, just like the food's so good. And then I love what you guys started, and I want to go back a little to the beginning, but I feel like was monumentally different and better than what has existed in the space of, you know, drink this huge bucket of like cayenne chili pepper or whatever when people needed to like reset and feel better. And so I want to talk first about, you know, just briefly, how did this even happen? Because you guys, you know, there's a lot of stories of, you know, founders that were like best friends in, you know, college, or, you know, started this out of their room or whatever. So I want to know a little bit about how you found each other first and foremost, and how many years ago that was, because it's, you know, it's not always the happy ending of, you know, besties that start things together.
Well, Danielle and I grew up together in Sedona, Arizona.
Oh, wow.
Have you been to Sedona?
Yeah, I actually have. I've been there twice. I mean, it's beautiful. It's like red rocks, sunset.
Lots of spirituality, lots of people coming from all around the world seeking different forms of healing. There's lots of different healing modalities there. Nutrition being one of them, using herbs and superfoods and Mother Nature really to help heal the body.
Before it was cool.
My parents moved there in 76. Danielle's grandparents, I think, right around the same time in the 70s. And so we grew up together there. We met, I was the new girl in school. I switched schools in 7th grade. And in my first period math class, my very first class, I come in and I sit down, and this girl sitting in front of me, she leans back over her chair and she goes, "Hi, I'm Danielle." And I borrowed a pen. End of story. Fast friends.
That's so cute. And how old were you at that time? Like 13?
12.
12, yeah.
Yeah, I had tested out a different school before this one that, you know, first I went to a very small, very alternative charter school, Montessori-based charter school. It was, 45 kids. And so by the time I was 12, I was like, I want to be around some more people, some boys. Mm-hmm. So I tried this other school first, and it was filled with mean girls. And
I know that well.
Yeah, and it wasn't my vibe. So I tried this other school, and it was amazing. And all of the most popular girls in school were the nicest girls.
That never happens. That never happens.
I feel like it's such an important point because it's something we've really tried to carry through in how we have built the business. You know, we have historically had a lot of women and a lot of women in leadership roles. And to make sure that the culture stays one of rooting each other on, of seeing the best in people, of assuming everyone's doing their best no matter what, has been like really a top priority for us.
Yeah, no cattiness, no competition, no mean girls club.
I mean, that's, by the way, that's the impetus for Climbing in Heels. You know, I mean, the reason that I started this podcast was because I was mean girled since kindergarten. And I've continued to battle mean girls throughout my entire life and career. And I just felt that this was such an amazing forum to pay it forward to amazing women that, I just want to continue to support in every single way. And I think that it's important to talk about the journeys of how you get to the top of where you are. And I think this is such an important point that you're talking about, because it's something that I so strongly believe in and advocate for, as women being kind to women. And I think for you guys, it's like the fact that she literally said that Danielle to you, and you had come off as like mean girl, and she was like, no. And that the fact that the popular girls were nice, I think that carrying that through through your adulthood is so important, because I think sometimes how we grew up, it was sort of like the mean girls were the cool girls and the jerk boys were the hot guys and the nerdy boys were the nice boys, and all the things.
Totally.
And I think
the tropes.
Yeah. And I think changing that whole landscape, I think now it's so cool to be nice, so.
We always feel like you've been so nice to us and supportive and cheering us on from the beginning. So thank you.
I will always. I'm such a believer in it.
But I think that it is a secret to our success is that we care deeply for each other. And it kind of starts with that foundation of being nice girls and having that respect for each other. We always say that first and foremost, we care for each other as people, as humans, as individuals, before the business. That if each of us are happy in our lives, if we're feeling good, if we're feeling taken care of, if we're doing work that is inspiring, then we're going to do better at work. And if things aren't going well from a relationship perspective or from our own personal relationships or whatever it is, we're not going to show up as our best. So kind of, nurturing each other and allowing space for us to be real humans, not just, coworkers or employees of our company. And that's allowed for this stamina, I would say. Like being able to endure the past 13 years.
I was going to say, so
we also worked our asses off. So.
Right. I know for a fact that you have. I've seen it. I've lived it. I've seen you from the beginning. So you start, so you're best friends immediately. I imagine you stayed best friends all through high school and everything else, right? So what happens after you graduate high school? Do you go to college or do you start a business or both?
So I moved to New York for college. I wanted to study pre-med. Whitney went to Arizona for college and then did some time in Spain. And it was around that time, she had one more year to graduate and she was thinking about LA or New York. And I was like, come to New York. It's the best. You're going to love it. You can just live with me.
She was like, come live in my apartment. You can sleep in my bed. You can wear all my clothes. We'll figure it out. She was like, don't bring anything. She was like, no, really don't bring anything. We have no space for any of your stuff.
She's like, actually, you can't come here if you bring anything.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no room.
There's room for
I lived
you,
in New
not
York
yourself.
for a long time. I know.
So I moved in with her. She was in this 2-bedroom wing apartment in Soho. So it's these small bedrooms. Her bed was almost touching all of the walls in her room. And, shared it with another girl. And there was this tiny little kitchenette in the hallway. And they made space in the pantry for me to come with my one suitcase. And we figured it out.
I love it so much. I love it so much. It's the American thing, right?
It is. It was so fun. We had so much fun. Probably too much fun.
Yeah. As it is in New York.
Exactly. But the kind of start of Sakara, I'd say, was when we were kids. I suffered from a lot of disordered eating patterns. I was never officially diagnosed because I never wanted to admit it to anyone.
Yeah, of course.
And I hopped from diet to diet and was always just looking for the solution, thought that, my thinness was wrapped up into my worthiness and my power in the world. And I had a terrible relationship to food. Food was always the enemy. So less was always better, no matter what it was. It was never about listening to my body, taking care of my body. It was just with this kind of aim to be thinner. And
like so many and so much of the world. Yes.
So many of us. And my mom was also very sick for my entire life and in and out of the hospital all the time. And so we were, with medical professionals and doctors all the time. And, I saw many doctors save her life. And then I saw many doctors make her life more difficult because they didn't really understand root cause. They didn't understand how to take care of chronic conditions. They were great at like acute conditions. Like you have a heart attack, thank God. But when you're talking about like long-term autoimmune issues or, chronic anything, they really couldn't help her. And so I moved to New York to study medicine. And it was, around that time I'd been working in a hospital with a cardiologist, and we were seeing people with really late stage autoimmune issues and lifestyle diseases. And after you see so many patients, it's like you start to just realize that we actually don't have the tools to help them long term. Sometimes we have the tools to help them in the short term with pain relief, with symptom relief, but nobody's really talking about let's get to the core issue. And so then they get moved around and you see the dietitian or you see another specialist, and it's just so disorganized. And I was kind of at the bottom of my own journey. I had done this crazy retreat, and it was 21 days, and it was a water fast, and it was just so intense.
Oh my God.
And though I think there is room for that in one's kind of like spiritual work, if you have a healthy relationship to food, I did not. And so it just took me down. And I wasn't looking at it as like this spiritual kind of thing. I got like this spiritual revolution that I needed, but I had no idea that's what I was in for, because it put me to rock bottom. Right. And, it was a blessing now that I, look back, and I'm grateful for it. It just made me realize that I really had to renegotiate my relationship to food, or I was going to be sick forever. Yeah. And I had, been to doctors because I had gut issues. They gave me IBS as this umbrella term of like, we don't know.
And it was some dude trying to diagnose you. Well, like, these are your symptoms. Great. Right.
Yeah. And, now 15 years later, after I have studied medicine, functional medicine, and have my master's in it, like, I really understand these doctors just don't have the tools to understand what is going on. But it really put me on a path of, after seeing those patients, after kind of myself witnessing how you can't really go to the conventional medical system with chronic conditions. No. I really wanted to figure out how to, help myself get out of rock bottom. And luckily, Whitney at that time was in New York with me, and we were kind of at this rock bottom together. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. My kind of journey to Sakara also started at a young age. I had terrible cystic acne all over my face, big, red, painful cysts. And I tried everything to fix it. They put me on rounds and rounds of antibiotics. I did the Accutane. It didn't work for me. And, with
our immune system and all this stuff.
I mean, it's now being connected to things like Crohn's and colitis, and who knows? It's a very serious drug. And I'm still so shocked that today it's prescribed to people all the time. I know. By top dermatologists, when really what I didn't know in that time is that acne starts in the gut. Yeah. It's not a skin issue. It's a gut issue.
Yeah, it's like a microbiome thing.
It's microbiome. Yeah. It's your immune system. It's your body's bacterial balance and your body's ability to fight an imbalance of bacteria. So, I tried all of these things. And when I was moving to New York, back to our story, moving in with Danielle, I was working on Wall Street. My lifestyle was terrible. I was working 80-hour work weeks, just go, nonstop. I was, it was part of my job to go out after work and entertain clients and, drink. And my boss would expect me to come and have a drink with him.
I remember those days.
Yeah. And, and then you're eating fried food and whatever else with those drinks. And in the office, there's free pizza Fridays and lunch and learns. I'm 22 and I'm broke. So I'm eating whatever food they're putting in front of me. Of course. And my skin was just at an all-time worst. Like, I had put on a fast 15 pounds and my acne was just in a complete flare up. Right. So I was desperate for my skin to clear up. It was affecting my confidence, my career, how I showed up in the world. I couldn't hide it.
People underestimate the power of like clear skin.
Yeah.
I do understand, because I have a lot of people in my life so affected by acne and cystic, and it's polarizing. They don't want to actually go out ever. They don't want to leave their house because they can't like look at people.
Yeah. And you try makeup and you're covering it up, and that just makes it worse. But I thought, I'm in New York City, and this city has everything, the best of the best. I'm going to go to all those doctors I've read about in the magazines, and they're going to fix me. And one by one, I went to them, and one by one, they wanted to write me another prescription for a mega round of antibiotics, which just makes it worse and has long-term side effects by, messing up your gut microbiome, or another prescription for Accutane. And I said, I already did those things and they didn't work. So what else do you have for me? And they basically just said, nothing. I can't help you. And I was so upset. And because I had so much hope set on these people that they were going to fix me. And when they didn't have the solution, I was devastated. But in that moment, I heard my inner voice shouting at me at this point, like, don't do it. It's not the answer. You need to go inside and figure out what is the root cause of these symptoms on your face. Right. And that was the first time I thought about it as not the thing I was trying to fix, but a symptom of the actual thing that was going on in my body. And so I turned to my best friend, to Danielle, and back to our Sedona roots of food as medicine, Mother Nature's ability to heal, the body's ability to heal if given the right tools and ingredients, the right material to repair itself. And we decided to come together and figure out just for ourselves, like, what does true nutrition look like? What is the healthiest way of eating? How can we give our bodies the cleanest, purest inputs and give it what it needs, all the right things, so that it can function at its best? This is something that so many people don't know about nutrition, is that a majority of our body's processes are nutrient dependent, that it needs nutrition in order to function properly. So just like eliminating, I had done all the elimination diets. I had eliminated everything out of my diet. Danielle and I, we tried Master Cleanse. We did all the things and it didn't work because we weren't feeding the body the things it needed in order to function properly.
Yeah, and the literature really supports this notion that it's way more important what you do eat than what you don't eat. And I think we just have an obsession with what not to eat. And I can say that because I was one of them. And, it's just somehow way more seductive to have a list of what not to eat than, to think about what should I eat every single day instead.
Trust isn't just earned, it's demanded. Whether you're a startup founder navigating your first audit or a seasoned security professional scaling your GRC program, proving your commitment to security has never been more critical or more complex. That's where Vanta comes in. Businesses use Vanta to establish trust by automating compliance needs over 35 frameworks, like SOC 2 and ISO 27001. Centralize security workflows, complete questionnaires up to 5 times faster, and proactively manage vendor risk. Vanta can help you start or scale your security program by connecting you with auditors and experts to conduct your audit and set up your security program quickly. Plus, with automation and AI throughout the platform, Vanta gives you time back so you can focus on building your company. Join over 9,000 global companies like Atlassian, Quora, and Factory who use Vanta to manage risk and prove security in real time. For a limited time, our audience gets $1,000 off Vanta at vanta.com/special. That's VANTA.com/special for $1,000 off.
Sail to breathtaking destinations in Alaska or Europe with Disney Cruise Line. Discover where onboard magic meets onshore adventures, where beloved characters
Hiya, pal!
meet alluring landscapes, where Broadway quality shows meet historic cities, where imaginative dining meets amazing wildlife, and where exciting experiences await the whole family. Book an adventure-filled summer Disney cruise to Alaska or Europe.
Wasn't that delicious? So good.
Your bill, ladies?
I got it. No, I got it. Seriously, I insist. I insisted first. Oh, don't be silly. You don't be silly.
People with the Wells Fargo Active Cash credit card prefer to pay because they earn unlimited 2% cash back on purchases.
Okay, rock, paper, scissors for it. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. No!
The Wells Fargo Active Cash credit card. Visit wellsfargo.com/activecash. Terms apply.
Hi, I'm Cindy Crawford, and I'm the founder of Meaningful Beauty. Well, I don't know about you, but I never liked being told, oh, wow, you look so good for your age. Why even bother saying that? Why don't you just say you look great at any age, every age? That's what Meaningful Beauty is all about. We create products that make you feel confident in your skin at the age you are now.
Meaningful Beauty. Beautiful skin at every age. Learn more at meaningfulbeauty.com.
I remember the first time I had Sakara, and I just remember going, this just feels really good. It just felt really good. It felt clean. It felt fresh. It felt thought out. It wasn't, I think that to me, you were the first to create something that felt like a lifestyle of eating rather than a diet or a cleanse. And I think that in my opinion, is why it's so successful, and I think that is a very hard thing to create. And wildly, the food is so good. And I think that's the other thing, because I come from a family who loves food. And when you say diet or light or restrictive or regimen, it is like a hell no. They eat everything. They don't, my parents are older. They don't, when you say to them, gluten-free, they're like, what are you talking about? They're like, you need gluten or it doesn't taste good, Mm-hmm. Listen, they're in their late 80s. They can eat whatever they want.
Yeah.
But I guess my point is that I think that more and more now we are seeing it's almost like an epidemic of autoimmunes and chronic disease. And
it is an epidemic.
It is. I have so many friends with autoimmunes, and to me, it's this combination of polarizing your immune system with antibiotics, because they just throw antibiotics at everything, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then you have nothing to fight anything with.
Mm-hmm.
And too many parents that aren't paying attention when they're giving their kids from, age 0 to when they leave the house, just giving them whatever, here's Doritos with your lunch, or here's whatever. And I just feel like there's so many things to prevent it. Now we know so much. And so I feel like you guys were such pioneers. So I want to understand, I guess, how in that moment where you guys were at rock bottom of your own health problems, what happened that you were like, okay, let's do this? And how do you do it? Because being entrepreneurial and starting a business, especially talking about you guys were living in the teeniest space ever, probably 400 square feet, 2-bedroom.
Yeah.
How did you have the power, the skills, the money, to actually say, let's do this? Because it's scary as hell.
Yeah. And I also just want to add about, this idea of autoimmune issues before we get to that is I do think there is a lot of parental responsibility that needs to be had, but I actually think the onus is on the people and the corporations who are making really bad food.
Yes, agreed.
And then we're also swimming in a soup of toxic exposure that is very new.
Mm-hmm.
We're around electronic devices all the time. There's just a lot that is trying to kind of eat away at our health and our health span. And so, it was really the start of Sakara we think about our health as, I always say this, I wish I could tell you who it was by, but I don't remember, but it's something a healthy person has 1,000 dreams and an unhealthy person has one.
Right.
And if you think about your health as something that we are very lucky to have, the most important thing that we can do is understand how to either get back to health or stay healthy. And so we both knew that we had to get back to health, and that we were kind of at this, fork in the road where we could keep doing what we had been doing and probably end up sicker and sicker, or we could try and figure out how do we actually get back to health and make that our priority, not, my thinness, not Whitney's acne, but to truly get back to a center and to understand what is your toolkit. Because for me, as somebody with disordered eating patterns, the scariest place in the world to be was to be at that rock bottom and have no idea how to get out. And so, I really appreciate what you said about Sakara being a lifestyle versus a diet, because we worked so hard to make sure that that was true. That's why we talk about this idea of eat clean, play dirty. It's like, I am the first to grab for a glass of wine. I had French fries last night. It's not about perfection. It's not about what not to eat and drink. It's about what you do most of the time. And if we could just kind of help people understand that your toolkit really needs to be focused on what you do and less on idolizing what not to do, just that shift for people makes such a big deal. And so when we started Sakara, we found that out, after me, I studied nutrition, and then we just kind of, from our Sedona roots, knew so much about how people had been looking at nutrition for thousands of years. And all these ancient modalities and herbs, and looking at food and plants as medicine, not just like, oh, I'm hungry and here's some calories.
Right.
And so we came up with, our pillars of nutrition. And when we talk about them, none of them are going to surprise you. Right. They are all foundational. They are all so simple. And yet none of us can do it every single day. It's so hard. It's like, eat your greens, make sure you're getting a lot of colors, make sure your plate is full of whole, fresh foods versus processed.
It is very pretty. It's very pretty.
And make sure it's delicious. That was a big one for me, because I had dieted so long. I was so used to eating, cardboard.
Yeah, of course.
Or like drinking nothing. And it was really important that we made this a joyful ride, because this is a lifestyle. And, we think that joy is a nutrient. And so we realized like the foundation of, nutrition, or we prefer to call it nourishment, is actually pretty simple. And most of us can agree that we need to get more fruits and vegetables and whole foods, yet somehow it's so hard to do. And so we were like, well, let's try it. Just Whitney and I, we just were like, okay, let's commit for a couple months. We're going to do this. And we would switch off cooking days. And it really only took about 3 weeks before both of us, just everything about us started to change.
Monumental shift
where it gives me chills now, even just talking about it. But it was like my brain turned on. I had been so focused on the wrong things. So thinking of food as the enemy and what not to eat. But when I used my time and energy to focus on what to eat, it was like everything just got better. My mental health got better. Actually, it was so much easier to kind of get in the shape I wanted to get into, because I had nourishment. I had the tools to do that. I was not getting enough nutrients every single day. And, it was the first time, the inflammation with skin started to go down. And we just realized we were onto something. We had friends asking us, what have you been doing? What juice cleanse are you on? That was really the time of the juice cleanse. And we were like, no, actually we're chewing these days. And, and so we just thought, let's see if there's a couple other people out there that have some version of what we're going through and really need the solution at their doorstep, so that there's nothing to get in the way. Here's breakfast, lunch, and dinner, organic, nutritionally designed. You don't have to think about it. By the way, you don't have to heat it up if you don't want to. You can bring it to the office. It's beautiful. It's delicious. And, we were like, okay, maybe there's a few people. We had no idea what we were doing. We were in our young 20-something. And it started with one client, and then their lives were changed. And then it turned into 5 clients. And we were just cooking in our kitchen, at home.
Were you just dropping it off at that point? You were just dropping it off at people's homes?
We were doing everything. And we did that for a long time.
Wow.
And then it was actually...
That's impressive. We're in a little kitchenette, right?
Oh my God, so small.
Yeah.
I just know the New York City kitchenettes. I know exactly where. I have such a visual of your apartment.
Hard to cook for one person in that kitchen.
Yeah, by the way, it is. It's almost like it's one level up from a dorm room.
Yeah, no, exactly. But it really set us on this mission because, once you impact one person's life, you're like, oh, maybe there's somebody else who needs this. And then it just really started to snowball, and it kind of hit this peak point when an editor from Daily Candy kind of heard about us. And we were still like cooking ourselves, delivering ourselves. I know, Daily Candy, RIP.
Wow.
And she was like, hey, I'm, doing a piece about, health and nutrition and how like juice cleansing might be out. Can I try what you're doing? And, we had to put on a face about it because we didn't want to tell her we were just like cooking in our kitchen and this thing was so small. And so we're like, yeah. And then, so we made it ourselves.
Make it, guys.
Yeah. And so and then we ended up delivering ourselves, and we really surprised her because I'm sure, just assumed we had delivery people, but we did not. So it was us, and we opened the door and she like still had curlers in her hair. Like, it was just like, what are you doing here?
Really surprised to see us. And we're like, oh yeah, we just wanted to make sure that it arrived safely to you. So we delivered it ourselves.
VIP service. But she ended up writing a piece about us, and we had no idea it was going to happen. So it just happened randomly, like 3 weeks later. And I was the first to realize it because at the time we built our own website, Shopify did not exist. And so you had to email us to order. And it was like 10 email exchanges before you could order. And then we like would send you a PayPal invoice. But after Daily Candy, I woke up one morning and I opened the computer, and it was thousands of emails being like, I want to order next week. She called us the anti-crazy cleanse.
I agree with that. That's a great one.
Yeah. It's still true today. Like, it's really is that. So bless her. And Whitney and I were like, what are we going to do? So we like had to make up a name for an email and an assistant. And it was really us. And we told everyone we were sold out for 2 weeks. And in those 2 weeks, we got a kitchen, hired a staff, got delivery people. And that was really the start.
Were you so scared that you were going to were you scared that you were going to lose interest in those 2 weeks? It's so scary to do that.
I think there were so many people.
That's insane, you guys, because that was the very beginning of because we launched the Zoe Report around. So what year was that?
2000.
That was 2011.
Yeah.
It's so wild.
And nobody knew what plant-based was. People were
and nobody knew how to get food delivered.
You're like, in Sedona, Arizona, everybody's plant-based.
Yeah. No, people were like, can you just make sure I'm allergic to shrimp? And we're like, don't worry.
Not a problem.
You're good. But we went to Craigslist, and we were trying to hire kitchen people and delivery people. I mean, it's endless stories about how we definitely have some PTSD about what it meant to be.
I think, I love this story. I love this journey because it really goes back to the original way of building a business, a small business with a big idea that is terrifying when it grows that quickly, because it's really hard to manage. And I think that's sort of one of the biggest pain points for entrepreneurs, that if you have this PR moment and then all of a sudden you go from 200 to 2,000 or even 20 to 2,000, you're like, wait, because you have to be so careful in that moment. Right.
And especially in a business that continues to grow, where you're going from 20 to 2,000 to 20,000. And, there's no, Danielle and I talk about this, there's no CEO guidebook, no entrepreneur guidebook that teaches you or trains you how to be a CEO when you have a team of 4 people, and how to be a CEO when you have 10 people, 20 people, 200 people. You have to just figure it out and be able to scale yourself in that same time. Your understanding, your ability to lead, your leadership skills have to scale along with the business, which is also hard.
There's so many things, and there's so many learnings, and it is navigating your path. Right. And how many mistakes did you make along the way?
Daily mistakes. Every single day. Yeah.
And it's hard. So a couple of things I want to ask you. So what were the scariest moments, if you can remember even just one or two, that basically you were like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. Like, we can't, we're so screwed, or like, or did you not have any of those? Because I know I've had like countless, but I mean,
we had so many. I mean, for me, I remember it was early on, and this is where I'm just so grateful we had each other, because when I had an off day, Whitney could be like, no, we're doing this.
Right.
And vice versa. But I remember we had this one client early on, and she was a friend of a current client, and he had sent it to her. And so she wasn't somebody who like went to our site, ordered it herself.
Right.
And she wrote us this email where she was like, I could just go to Chopped. Like, I don't get what you're doing, and I won't be ordering again, but I really wish you guys luck. And then I remember Whitney and I, you know, we would work at a cafe, and I remember looking at her in the cafe and be like, yeah, what are we doing? Like, we're delivering salads. Like, what are people only want pizza delivered? Like, at that time, their meal delivery didn't really exist.
There was no Uber Eats or Postmates.
Right. Yeah. And so I was like, there was no one to kind of, for us to be like, this is what we're doing, but better or different. Or it was like, we were really making a new path. And so I would I remember that moment where I was like, yeah, wait, what are we doing? We're cooking ourselves. Like, I couldn't imagine at the time, like, scaling to 100,000 square feet of production facility. I couldn't imagine having a team of 200. Like, I just couldn't. It's hard, even though I knew we were onto something. It's hard to imagine how you're going to get there. And for me personally, like, I have achiever, and like one of my top things, like, I personally have to feel like I'm achieving all the time, which has its pros and its cons. But in those moments where I'm like, yeah, this doesn't feel like it's going anywhere. Let's try something else. Let's pivot. I remember Whitney being like, no, we're onto something. Like, remember, this food changed our life. This is not Chopped. This is like nutrition delivered to your door. And so we could kind of like talk each other down. But then there were so many other moments when it like wasn't us. It was like outside circumstances that just made it so hard. Like hiring kitchen staff, if you've never like worked in a restaurant, or it's so hard.
It's so hard. That's why I'm saying, like, I have a real knowledge of what you guys have built. I really do, just because I have so many friends on all sides of the industry, in food, in, you know, just building different kinds of businesses around food, whether it's like mini cupcakes or nutrition based. It's, you know, to cookies. So like hard. It just doesn't, it's so hard. It's so freaking hard, which is why I like really wanted to have you guys on, because I think being pioneers, and, you know, this is something that, you know, people always say, well, Rachel, you were the first stylist, you were this, you're that. And I'm like, okay, thanks. But like, that's also comes with it the hardest challenges, because there is no one to look at of like, I want to be that, or I want to get there, or I want to accomplish this much, or I want to do that better. Right. It's sort of like, what am I doing? I'm figuring this out as I go.
And we had to educate the market.
Yes. And
on a completely new category.
Correct. Yeah. And I think the other thing I want to say is like, how did you, so you started with this program, right? And then to your point, like, it was 2 of you, then it was 4 of you, then it was whatever. That to me is the scariest part, right? Like the growing pains of the small to the next level, but then really going to the scaling level. So did you then along the way, did you raise money? Did you have advisors? Did you have friends that were like, guys, this is over your head, you need help? Or like, how does that, like, how did you go from that to where you are now? How many people are you serving now, roughly?
I mean, we do millions and millions of meals each year delivered all across the country.
It's insane.
But
how big is your team?
Hundreds of people.
Insane. And headquarters is where?
We're headquartered in New York. We also have a team in LA.
Got it.
But I'd say team is everything. Like we have had amazing, truly incredible, so talented people work for Sakara over the years. I mean, early on, we had just really amazing people. We had an incredible president join us where she was a client and she wrote to us an email and wanted to meet with us. And we're like, oh, she probably wants to talk about digestive issues. And, you know, I don't know. I guess we can meet with her because she didn't tell us why she wanted to meet. And then she showed up with her resume, and it's, Harvard Business School and all these Goldman Sachs and all these amazing things in her resume. Right. And there are basically like three of us sitting in an office space, and we're still doing everything. And she said, "You guys changed my health, my body, my life. Like, I see what you're doing here, and I want to be a part of it."
Wow.
And
I have chills.
No, I was just going to say, we've been able to attract really incredible, high caliber people to our team because they have had these life-changing experiences.
Right.
Yeah,
sure.
I'd also add that we didn't raise money. So, we really built it off of some money we raised by throwing a dinner. And that's how we started it. And now, we're obviously on so many like entrepreneurial panels and podcasts, and everyone I talk to like thinks that there's one path, and that is that you come up with an idea, you make a deck, you come up with like a prototype, you raise money, and you go to market. And I think this kind of genre, or this kind of wherever we are in like the world of entrepreneurialism, it's like people just want to get it perfect, raise money, and go. And I think they're very scared to start with one client. They're very scared to start small. And it really allowed us to evolve and adapt and own our company. I mean, we still own the majority of our company, and that is unheard of in most kind of like consumer D2C type businesses, but especially in meal delivery, because it is such an operationally and logistically heavy business that most of the time people raise hundreds of millions of dollars, even when they're doing far less in revenue. And so they own very small pieces of their company. We've been very fortunate. We didn't raise money until we were doing millions in revenue. Right. And then we raised money from people who were willing to kind of be in the long game with us. Right. Weren't asking us to just like turn the business in a couple of years. And still to this day, like sometimes I'll have I'll have a board meeting and a friend or somebody will be like, "Oh gosh, sorry." I'm like, "No, I love my board meetings. Like I love my board. They're our biggest fans, and some of them are like family at this point." And just cheering us on 13 years later, and just seeing like, what else can you do? What more can you do? And sometimes have to remind us like that we're on this mission, and it's
of course, it's hard to not like lose your way a little bit sometimes along the way, because you're so
pressure is real.
But we feel so lucky that we are mission based, right? Because so many companies do lose their way, and they're like, "What are we doing? And let's pivot, and let's try this, and try that, and follow this trend." And we have this
the pressure of investors are like, "You have to change your business, you have to sell, you have to,
right." But we have this anchor in place, this stake in the ground, our North Star that says we're here to transform lives. Yep. We're helping people through, nutrition, through plants, and giving people the tools to sit in the driver's seat of their own health and be an active creator of their life. And so that really guides us when we're wondering, wait, what are we supposed to do here? Like, oh yeah, we need to just think about the client again. What does she need? How can we better service her? How can we, service her deeper, more of her needs, and more people, more of her? And
that's how we will succeed. Now, you guys, like, I love the bars. I love the powders. I love the granola is amazing. Like, I also think that's a very important key to the business to have for people that don't want to be on a program, but want the products consistently and
at different price points.
100%. So I think that's a huge thing. But also one thing I really want to ask you before we start to wrap is what do you do about copycats? Because there are a lot. And that's something like I know I've had to deal with throughout my entire career on all sides. And it's something that I think when you have a business like this, there are people that will jump to copy, or existing businesses that will pivot to try and copy. How do you deal with it? Because I think there is a common reaction to that. But I'm seeing many over this year of people that have gone to great lengths to do different things to deal with that. So tell me your thoughts on that.
I think Whit and I come at it from kind of different angles, which I think is good. I think we're both of the mind, though, of this business is very hard. It's very hard. Like your business is very hard. Like it might be easy to get to 100 clients, maybe even 1,000 clients, and it's not easy, but it might be doable. But then once you start thinking about scaling, which, it's a hard business if you're going to keep it at a small amount of people, it's a lot of effort for, small amounts of clients. And so if you're talking about scaling, like, it's just incredibly difficult. And then I think we have really nailed how to make food with love. And you feel like, you got it at a spa, or your mom made it for you, made with love, and then delivered to your door. It's incredibly difficult. I mean, we've had some of the world's experts working on it. We've been in the kitchen, like, we've been making food. So it's like, it's been perfected over 15 years. And so I think there's also just time, like, it's going to be hard for someone to fast forward. But I'm also of the personal mind, like, kind of ethically, spiritually, of just like, you just keep
there's
going.
room for everyone.
Yeah, you just keep going. And look, we'll definitely lose clients to some competitors, but I've also seen so many clients come back. Like, if you want to go try something new, go try something new. Like, we're in it for the long game. We're the lifestyle. And so if you need to go try something else for a little while, go. But there is longevity to this nutrition, like, continually, even though on the consumer level, you see so many different types of trends in nutrition. When you look at the literature, it doesn't change. Like, it's just like over and over again, get more whole foods into your diet, get clean fats, get healthy proteins, get enough greens. Like, that just is like stood the test of time. And that's what we're about. And I totally get it that if some client wants to, like, go try a crazy cleanse, go do something wild, but I tend to find that they always come back. And so I think about just stamina. I mean, and that's also, I think, the wisdom of doing this for 15 years is they'll come back and we're just going to keep going.
I look at Sakara as a more affordable way to have your own healthy private chef.
There's so many good quotes from you. I'm like,
but it's a personal chef and a nutritionist.
Always says I speak in sound bites, but I've watched it from the beginning, and I just love that you guys are standing so strong and at the top of it, and just continue to, like, expand and improve it. I also love that you can customize so much now. I think that's so great too. So to me, those are actually, like, such significant, like, wins,
And we're not pushing veganism. That's not what we're about.
No.
We're about basing your diet on plants. That means getting enough plants into your diet, because the rest of the world is pushing you bread, meat, cheese, coffee, and alcohol as your 5 major food groups.
Mm-hmm.
You can go out to a restaurant and get an amazing burger, but it's really difficult to go somewhere and get high quality plants, a vegetable-based meal that is delicious, that's organic, which is really important. We were talking about gut bacteria and antibiotics. Pesticides and herbicides are often antibiotics that are sprayed on your produce, and you were eating that, and we have all these little bugs inside of us, and it changes your gut microbiome. So you want to be getting organic, but it's how many restaurants do you know that are organic?
Not enough. That's for sure.
You could count them all on one hand.
Yeah, it's so insane.
So we really want to make sure that you're getting the enough plants into your diet, enough variety of plants to feed a diversity of microbes in your gut, and to be that support, that we really did throw the idea of dieting on its head. We turned it around. Instead of just eating whatever you want and then jumping onto a diet to clean up, we said, no, eat clean most of the time, and then play dirty and go out and go on your vacation and do whatever.
That's how I live. I'm like, you know what? You got to go and have fun too. This whole, like, never have a drink again thing is not for me.
And so, I think most of us need the support in order to eat clean. We don't have our mothers and our grandmothers cooking us food. We're not living in a village with in a multi-generational home. And
Right.
so in a way, we've felt over the years like we're your Sakara mamas. Like we're providing you with that healthy food, saying, eat your vegetables. And so that you can go out and play dirty without any shame.
Well, I love you guys. I'm so happy I met you in the beginning. I've watched you. I've watched the journey, and I'm such a fan. No one paid me to say this. For my listeners, if you have not heard of Sakara, I can't imagine, but if you haven't tried it, you should. We
actually just launched a brand new program that I don't know if we should be promoting it on here because it's already sold out through the first week of February.
It'll come back. It'll come back again.
We revamped our level 2 detox, and it is amazing. It will change your body and your relationship to your food. Is just such an incredible program. It's also it feels like a spiritual cleanse, a physical cleanse.
It's sold out until the first week of February.
Yes, but so if people want to do it, they have to hop on.
I'm signing up right now. Post Fashion Week, please.
Yeah, Post Fashion Week is a great time. It's like we called it level 2 because it's like a level up. So if you're feeling called to, detox cleanse, I think it can be a really good place to start, and then you can kind of maintain with the meals after that. But yeah, it's not for the faint of heart, but it's certainly easier than juice cleanses, things like that. It's very nourishing.
Or things that are just like,
it's real food. You're going to chew, you're going to enjoy it. You're going to have hot meals. Like I love it. It's really nourishing.
I love it. This was so much fun and so much to learn from your experience, and so inspirational for our listeners to, not just like whether it's trying Sakara, but just taking care of themselves, but also how to start a badass business. I'm so impressed with you guys. I hope to see you very soon. I hope to see you guys really soon.
This was so fun. It was great to see you.
Okay, I want to say thank you so much to Danielle and Whitney for coming on the pod today. They have truly built such an extraordinary lifestyle brand in Sakara Life. It is so beyond just a healthy meal program, and I cannot wait to see what's next for them. Thank you so much for listening to Climbing in Heels. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the iHeart app, or wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss a single episode this season. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at @RachelZoe and the show at Climbing in Heels Pod for the latest episodes and updates. I will talk to you soon. Mwah.
Amazon Pharmacy presents Painful Thoughts.
The guy in front of me in the pharmacy line is halfway through an incredibly detailed 17-minute story about his gout, a story likely more painful than the gout itself.
Next time, save yourself the pain and let Amazon Pharmacy deliver your meds right to your door. Amazon Pharmacy. Healthcare just got less painful.
Did you know that parents rank financial literacy as the #1 most difficult life skill to teach? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app for families. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on what your kids are spending with real-time notifications. Kids learn to earn, save, and spend wisely. And parents can rest easy knowing their kids are learning about money with guardrails in place. Try Greenlight risk-free today at greenlight.com/iHeart.
The new year means new health goals, not just for your body, but your finances too. But did you know financial health is directly related to identity protection? You need LifeLock because your personal info is in endless places that are outside of your control. It only takes one mistake, and not even your mistake, to expose you to identity theft and lost funds. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points per second and alerts you to threats you could miss on your own. If your identity is stolen, LifeLock's US-based restoration specialist will fix it, backed by the $1 Million Protection Package. In fact, restoration is guaranteed or your subscription money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or other financial losses from identity theft alone. Resolve to make identity, health, and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Visit LifeLock.com/iHeart and save up to 40% your first year. That's 40% off at LifeLock.com/iHeart. Terms apply.
With the best all-inclusive vacation deals to Mexico and the Caribbean, booking your getaway with Cheap Caribbean Vacations means you have more freedom to do your deal. Whether you want to enjoy snorkeling, endless margaritas, and more, or simply soak up the sun and sand in a tropical paradise, Cheap Caribbean Vacations has your deal for that. Plan and book the exact way you want at exactly the right price for you by using our exclusive Budget Beach Finder. Or find a featured all-inclusive package to Blue Diamond Resorts and do your deal at cheapcaribbean.com.